I think we're live. We're live!
Good morning.
In the flesh. Maskless. Oh, doesn't it feel nice to be here without a mask on, Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
It really does. Hey, good morning, everybody. There's lots of people here already. We'd like to see that. Mackenzie, Aubrey, Keeney, Lamaya, Nolan, Aubrey, Deanna, Lauren, Grace. Well, that means somebody's going to be taking all my cash and Blooket today. Tracy, Maya, Plank, Madison, Isaiah, Ricardo. There's Daniel. I got to write him down. He's one of mine.
Kathy, she's yours.
Catherine Burr is here, too.
Brian. Ooh. And Proa. We ask this each time, and then I'm like, oh, right, but I can't. It's one of yours. I know that.
Yeah, that's Miguel.
See, you got it.
It's Pro Blanca. He discovered fragments when DNA is being made, the Pro Blanca fragments on the lagging strand. We were talking about that the other day. Brian's mine too. Brian, I don't know. We could start maybe giving some bonus points again, just because new marking period.
New marking period.
Bonus points could offset some of the. I'm putting that test in this marking period, so maybe the bonus points would offset some of that for some of them. All right, so DNA structure, Mrs. Smith.
DNA structure.
I think we do it. I think we get right in the DNA structure. We're going to talk about that a little bit. If you think, hey, I'm already done with DNA structure, I don't need this, well, maybe hang on, because there might be some stuff that helps you with replication in here, too.
And then we can do Blooket.
Right. And then the way that Mrs. Smith is going to manipulate the screen might really help you, too, because you'll have my students didn't see this particular one, but you'll have one for replication.
Oh, I can't make that bigger.
Can you make it, squeeze it, like make the window itself smaller?
What?
Do you have it like filling your whole screen? Minimize your window a little bit.
Minimize my window. Okay, then what?
And then click on the right side and drag it so the window's smaller. Yes, now you're getting there.
Is that better?
Yeah, do it a little bit more.
Okay. That's better?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. All right. So quickly, we just wanted to go over a nucleotide, because a lot of times what happens is that you look at a picture, we talk about a nucleotide, and then when you go to construct it or you go to think about the different parts, it just doesn't always make sense. So remember, the nucleotide has three pieces to it, and then a nucleotide is a monomer for the biomacromolecule nucleic acid, which, as I'm talking, I'm sure that there's somebody in there that can give me what the other three biomacromolecules are, because we know there's nucleic acids and then there's blank, blank, and blank. And so nucleotides are the monomer for the nucleic acid, and each nucleotide then is paired together to help construct some of the larger macromolecules like DNA and RNA. And so the three parts to a nucleotide include a phosphate. So I'm going to bring this phosphate over. So there's a phosphate, and that is attached to a sugar. It's a pentose sugar, deoxyribose sugar for DNA, ribose sugar for RNA, and then it has a nitrogenous base like adenine, thymine, guanine, cytosine, and then for RNA, we'd talk about uracil as well. And so there are bonds that are created in between the carbons on the pentose sugar, or the deoxyribose sugar for DNA, and the phosphate and the base. And so this sets up a basic nucleotide. And for my students, they did this. And then I asked them to create the 4 different bases. And when I asked them to get to this part, they got all jumbled and couldn't do it. And so again, we're still creating a nucleotide. So each nucleotide needs to have these 2 pieces, the phosphate and the sugar. And that's going to help to create the backbone of DNA. So I have to make sure that for each one of those, I have a phosphate and I have a sugar. And then each one of those is going to have a different base. And so if I'm being careful and I take this one that has this point going in, and let's say I say, okay, this one I'll make cytosine. Then guanine, I know C pairs with G using that base pairing rule. So now I have to choose one that the point is pushing out, that it's actually going to pair with that other base if I were to flip it around. And so then I'll take adenine, and that pairs with thymine. And then uracil, of course, is not in DNA. That's only in RNA. And so again, I want my adenine to also match. And so I'm going to be very specific. I wasn't as specific with my students, but I know PUGA 2 purines have 2 rings. So I'm going to use the same shape for guanine and adenine to kind of represent that relationship between the purines versus the pyrimidines. And so now I have 4 nucleotides, each paired, that if I were to take this entire base, make sure I get all the little pieces in here, and I were to flip it all around, then you could see how this one would pair up with each other to make that bond.
Mm-hmm. Any questions in the chat?
Nobody wrote the other nucleotides? I really thought that they would, or the other
organic molecules?
Organic molecules, yes. But somebody would give them to me as I was talking. I hope they were.
Well, I mean, we still have time. Nucleic acid, there's 3 other ones. So that's really DNA structure, right? That we haven't made of these nucleotides. We put those together to make the whole DNA molecule. Let's do a little bit of foreshadowing here, because one of the things that happens with DNA structure that becomes important later is the idea of the directionality, maybe. Can we say that? And people get really confused. Myself, I get confused. I have to relearn it every year. Actually, I don't have to relearn it. I have to literally draw it. I literally have to take a pen, draw a sugar molecule, count carbons, and think about it in order to get it. And so what I'd like to do just for a minute before we Blooket is demystify that a little bit. Because there's things in life that if you understand them, you can't there's some things in life you can't memorize and keep straight, I think, where understanding makes more sense. And one of those things is this idea of direction. Lisa, if you right click, you can't make that side thing smaller, can you?
That's what I was just trying to do.
What if you control minus a couple times? Oh, there you go. I didn't think. I was trying to think about ways to do that when you were talking. I couldn't. Anyway. All right. So a pentose sugar. You have 5 carbons. So DNA is made. Thank you, Lauren, by the way. Proteins, carbohydrates, lipids, nucleic acids. You have 5 sugars in a DNA sugar. Actually, a ribose sugar and a deoxyribose sugar are both going to have 5 carbons. So Mrs. Smith made this slide here that has a sugar. We have an oxygen at the top, and we have 5 carbons on it. The 3' 5' thing, I think, confuses everybody. They're like, what are they even talking about? So just real quick, stay with me. All you have to do is count the carbons. And drag that 1 over. All right, give me a second. Let's see if I can do it. Drag that 1 over. That's the first carbon. All right. Mrs. Smith, why is this so hard to drag?
I don't know. I don't have any problems.
You can't even center your ponytail.
It's Decades Day.
Drag that over. Hey, look. There are our 5 carbons. And what you would find, if we go back to that slide that Mrs. Smith was working on, and we look at it, why did it not go back on the screen? Am I not changing the same one you're changing? Oh, I don't know. Look at her sugar. Look at this sugar right here. It doesn't click. Oh, weird. Can you show them real quick with your mouse how that phosphate, where you put it? Well, it doesn't, yeah.
Up on the 5th carbon there?
Yeah, you can't see it because the 5th carbon is hidden.
Right, it's kind of hidden. But I always, Andrew just put in the chat what I always tell my students, and it's a high, you give somebody a high 5. The 5 is always the one that's up. You know, you give somebody a high 5, your hand sticks up. So if you imagine that phosphate molecule as being like the high 5, that'll help you remember which side is the 5' side of it. So when you're looking at an entire strand of DNA, like what's up here now, and you're looking at the 2 sides, up on the left-hand side, you have that high 5, that 5th carbon with the phosphate attached sticking up. And so you can say, oh, well, that's the 5' side of it. While the anti-parallel side, it's a low 5 there. And so that must be the 3' side that is over on that end.
Right. And so, like, go back. Well, I guess you could put the other 2 down, right? So if it's 5 up at the top, it's going to be 3 down at the bottom.
Yep.
Anyway, so here's the thing, guys. What are the, like, if I were you right now, I would be like, what are they talking about? Like, seriously, what is the point? And the point is just direction. So when you learned about DNA structure, it talks about the fact that DNA is anti-parallel, right? That one side runs one way and the other side runs right along it, but it runs in the opposite direction. And so all this 3', 5' stuff is to show us what direction each side is going. If we go back to that slide, Mrs. Smith, that just shows the oxygen, or just shows the 5 carbon sugar, look at the very top of that pentose sugar, the point where the oxygen is. To me, that oxygen is an arrow, and it points in the direction that it goes. So this particular one, the way it's drawn, would be pointing up. You have your high 5 at the top and 3 at the bottom. So this would be going 3 at the bottom, pointing towards 5 at the top. If she goes back to the picture where she just labeled the 5' and the 3' thing, the last slide, you can see, look where the oxygens are, pointing the whole way down the side. They're all pointing up on the left side. They're all pointing down on the right side. And that becomes important when it's time to learn about the Pro-Blanca fragment. I mean, the Okazaki fragments and things like that. When we start to learn about leading strand and lagging strand, when we start to learn about how DNA is read, because it's read in one direction, just like you read a book in one direction. So when all that starts to happen in the next section, replication, understanding that it's just a direction thing really will help you out. It just makes life easier.
And as a little preview, as he was talking about that directionality and as the reading and writing, I kind of put in there and helped you with that if it were to open from the bottom, that along that 3' to 5' side, you have this continuous arrow, and then the other side are the Okazaki fragments. Let's talk about maybe one of the only women that are given the name for something. We're not going to take that away, Mr. Suter, as she is a woman that did the discovery and it's named after. But
She's a woman. I didn't know that. Dr. Okazaki's a woman? That's awesome. I didn't know that.
So,
Japanese?
Correct. And when we're talking about like these things and these fragments, like this is still like newer information. We're talking 1960s for some of this, as it's Decades Day. We're not talking about hundreds of years ago that we're learning some of these things.
Yeah, there's things in here that your parents probably wouldn't have been taught in high school, or your grandparents certainly wouldn't have been taught in high school because they didn't know. So, and the whole women in science thing is interesting. It's interesting that you brought that up, because if I'm assuming Dr. Okazaki got credit for this, there are women in the discovery of DNA that did not get the credit that they deserved, right? Because they did deserve credit for many of those discoveries. So we live in a different world now where you can grow up and get credit, ladies. Woo. Yes. So what? I think that's it, right? Let's Blooket. I think that's that. Yeah. They're all like, shut up and Blooket.
Sorry, I should say her. I think it was her husband too that helped her. That was there, but anyway. All right. Blooket.
Well, husbands never get credit. I mean, that's just that's just assumed.
All right. Share that other.
Hey, just as she's pulling that up, a heads up. Next week there won't be a live stream because it's a vacation day. After that, the live streams are probably going to change, and I want you to be aware of this. We're going to probably start focusing on things that will help you with the Keystone exam. What did we figure out? That we would have about 6 more live streams before they're taking the Keystone. So we haven't 100% figured out exactly what we'll do, but we have figured out that it will probably start to focus on helping you prepare for that Keystone. So you want to make sure that you will be tuning in for that. Mrs. Smith, I'm going to change my Wi-Fi, and I might. Oh, no, I'm on the right one. Good.
How many students do we have in that we're waiting on?
About 19 people watching.
And Ricardo's going down, apparently. Are we ready then?
I think so. 20,
all right, let's go.
21, yeah. Uh-oh. Game 1. The real shooter just took my money? What's up with that?
Oh, it was 15%. Ridiculous. Oh, there's a wrong answer in there. My bad. Apparently, I clicked the wrong thing on there.
Well, I just stole a whole bunch of money and then lost 50% in the next one. I'm sorry, whoever I took from.
Yeah, there's definitely a wrong one about an enzyme in there. It's what you get for copying questions and then not fixing which one's the correct answer. There's spelling mistakes in here too. Jeez.
What's up with these Blues 25% ones? They're really starting to tick me off. And the real suitor keeps taking from me. I haven't stolen anything from him because he doesn't have anything to steal.
It's because I keep getting nothing.
Oh, you the real suitor?
Of course I'm the real suitor. I was going to put the real science teacher, but it wouldn't have fit.
I'm surprised that you did that because normally you play by the rules too much to break out or something like that.
I do like the rules.
Stop it! How does somebody have like 61? Oh, the DNA helicase was the wrong one.
Yeah.
Well, it's a good thing we just went over 5' and 3'.
Well, I knew where you're going to. That's why I put that one in there. But I was at the end. I was trying to like make questions, and apparently it's easier to copy questions than change the answers. And then I forgot to change which one is the correct answer. Like the correct answer's in there. I just didn't choose it.
Just lost 50%. How is that even? Grace won. I never
Woo! Oh, mine isn't. It kicked me out. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm just seeing all of that.
What?
That people are saying that their Blookets weren't working. So, yay. Well,
I'm mad because I thought I was doing really good, and I sold like I was up like 19,000, and I looked up and other people had like 61,000. What am I doing wrong in this game?
Well, you see, this game is all about getting swaps and triple golds and like.
My luck sucks. Andrew had 185,000 and Matter in 5 seconds lost everything.
It's the way this game works.
Oh, that's so fun. All right.
All right. So if you're not in DNA replication, by the way, like work today to get there or to finish that and get to transcription.
Yeah.
Just saying. And I know I have people on here that are way past that. So, but
well, my students are supposed to be done with DNA structure quiz in replication, and there's people on here that are way past that too. So anyway, I got a list. I think I got everybody.
I think so. I've got Lauren, Aubrey, Kenzie, Maddie, Isaiah, Ricardo, and Andrew. So I missed anybody.
Lamaya, Nolan, Deanna, Grace, JC, Maya, Daniel, Kathy, McGill, Brian, Sitlali, Elijah, and Haley.
Thanks for coming. Appreciate seeing you.
Hallie. Sorry, Hallie. All right. Have a great day, everybody.
You too.